our choices felt very intentional. And with Jack, a lot of our choices felt very like, spontaneous. And I think that that just kind of lent to the relationships between these two people and how these, connections or missed connections and missed meanings are kind of like, through your own lens, what you take into those moments.
And what we could shoot and not kind of jerk ourselves off with superfluous cinema stuff that would it was just we didn't have time. We couldn't indulge any of that. And for me, if my movies, I just care about the people.
You people are going straight to hell.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Andy, if you could describe this movie in one sentence, what would that be?
Home Alone for adults.
That is perfect. I know it's not easy, but Isabelle, what about you?
That is like such a perfect thing. I mean, nothing director and writer Andy Tennant, guys. That's one of the reasons I wanted to work with him. This is great. Uh, yeah, Home Alone for adults.
Having a movie set mostly just in one location can be really difficult for a litany of reasons. Isabelle, what appealed to you most about that as an actor?
Well, when you film in like one location like this, it really becomes about what these characters are going through, and this whole set really kind of felt like a game, like a playing board, and everyone's just moving these different pieces in different parts of it, and you as an audience just get to watch this game be played essentially. I loved the character of Laurie. I mean, that's obviously what drew me so much to this project, was playing a woman like her who is kind of at this crossroads in her life of what direction she wants to take, and ultimately this crazy night is what reminds herself that she is a lot stronger than she thinks, and that she can handle anything that life throws at her after she's maybe forgotten that.
Was there anything about this approach that maybe took you by surprise?
I mean, I think that I had never spent much time in a storage facility ever in my life. And it was kind of like midway through filming, I was like, might be a bad idea to get one of these and put my crap in it. But I will say now I have a different perspective on it since seeing the movie than being in it. Every time I walk in, if I hear something kind of odd, I'm like, no, I'm gonna keep walking. Hopefully it's just someone's Christmas decorations or something. I don't know.
Andy, I feel like this could have been a logistical nightmare since you've got this cat and mouse scenario in a fairly small area. What do you think the key was to maintaining tension throughout the movie?
The fact that we didn't have enough time or money. I think that was the tension, and we were very diligent in what we needed and what we could shoot, and not kind of jerk ourselves off with superfluous cinema stuff that would it was just we didn't have time. We couldn't indulge any of that. And for me, if my movies, I just care about the people. And so, for me, it was more important to see and to understand what Isabelle was going through, what Don Johnson is there for, and all those twists, and Jack on the same thing. I feel like I just was, I don't play an instrument. I'm just the conductor. So for me, it was always about just modulating and making sure that we're not lying to the audience, because that to me is cheap and it's not fair.
Do you think it was more challenging during the shoot itself or during the edit?
Oh, the edit was easy because we only had so much film that we could edit. We knew what we had. We shot what we needed. And the challenging of the movie, listen, I shot in Malaysia for 9 months, so this was, this is a walk in the park. The only thing was, it's at night in the rain, with not a lot of time, and if you're shooting at night, you can't really extend the night. Once that sun comes up, you're done. And so it was a little bit of a race, like they all are.
I feel like you
Yeah.
can feel the tension, the race against time, because we were always like, I gotta get one more. Let's try and get one more. You know,
Isabelle, go back to one. Run.
I think Andy was like the best personal trainer of my life working on this movie. The amount of running that I did, there were certain times where I was like, wow, am I just getting in the best shape of my life making this film? Like running in the rain all night long.
That's awesome. Maybe setting you up for an even more extensive action film in the future.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and Isabel, it's stated in the film that this is the third time that Laurie's ditched out on going to Nashville to see her boyfriend, and I'm convinced that she just hates Nashville and is using any excuse. Do you think that by the end of the film, she's finally ready to take that Nashville trip?
I think if she's not, then then maybe it's not going to work out with her and her boyfriend. I mean, like, I really was. It was so funny because it's like the third time's the charm. Like, why does she keep skipping out this trip? But I think that what Andy was saying about the relationships and the characters in these stories are really what drives the action and everything forward. Is that she could have just gone to Nashville, then you wouldn't have a movie. You know she stayed is why everything goes the way that it does is because she refuses to be a victim in this circumstance and fights her way through.
Well, and I feel like the poster for this movie does not do the film justice. Andy, can you speak to, especially in this era of filmmaking, how difficult it is to get the intention of the film across to your audience during the marketing phase?
Well, God, I mean, I've been on both sides of a very successful marketing campaign and some that aren't. And just as a side note, like they decided to sell Anna and the King as Braveheart in Thailand, as opposed to a love story which was based on the King and I'm like, oh, okay. So no, listen, I think on this movie you don't want to give away a lot. And as I said, I think a storage facility, I've often said, I'm surprised this movie was not made earlier. Like it's such a no-brainer. A movie set in a storage facility at night during a storm, and it's scary and thriller. So, look, a gurney in an empty storage facility, I think is pretty good.
I'll avoid spoilers, but there's a big twist in this film that really changes your perception of some of the characters. Andy, how do you go about making sure there are enough breadcrumbs that the twist feels like a natural progression of the story?
I'm glad you brought that up because I feel like one of the things that Derek and I worked on in terms of the script was we didn't want to lie to the audience and we didn't want to cheat them in not knowing enough. But there are, as you said, there are breadcrumbs that say that certain things are going on. Um, but the delight of the movie and while reading the script was, you're always trying to be a little ahead of the movie, especially something, in this genre. And I didn't see it coming. And one of the things that I'm not really giving away, but most movies have a movie like this, they finally get away. Well, that's not this movie at all. That happens much earlier. So even when that happened, when I was reading it, I thought, wait a minute, now what are we going to do? Like, I thought we were going to be here for the whole film. No, we were going to be so I just wanted to be honest about who these people were, and the reveals are not just convenient. They come when they're needed for the character to explain, not because the filmmaker decided to withhold something.
And Isabel, you have some fantastic scene partners in this one with both Jack Houston and Don Johnson. What was your experience like working with them?
Oh, I mean, they're both just like great guys who had such different, like, I would say totally different styles of the way that they work. Like, Jack is like a big kid. Like, he would come to set and we would just like play and try things and like do it again and do it again. And there was like this sort of energy. Don is like, he's been in this industry such a long time. Like, he was so prepared, like meticulous, even with the notes that he had, ideas he had. He had many conversations with Andy, especially considering like these breadcrumbs and how they were reverse engineering his story. So when we would do our scenes together, our choices felt very intentional. And with Jack, a lot of our choices felt very like, spontaneous. And I think that just kind of lent to the relationships between these two people and how these, connections or missed connections and missed meanings are kind of like, through your own lens, what you take into those moments. And that's why, like you said, watching a movie a second time, it's like so much more gratifying. But yeah, I had a great time working with both of them. It was so fun. And Jack is like brings so much energy. It's always like pleasant.
You know what I'm what I'm amazed at is that I just remembered this right now, is that the big scenes with Don, and all of the stuff that happens, that was shot the first week. That was day 3. That was day 3, and we shot that. And I'm like, because when you see the movie now, I look at it like this, and you guys, and I'm like, yeah, the way we shot it was, and I think that gave us also a little confidence that Don was so good, and Jack was so good, and Isabelle was so good in that first week of all that intensity, that it's like we had the movie in the can already. We had all those twists and turns and stuff right there in the first week.
You people are going straight to hell.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. JoBlo was created by movie fans for movie fans, and we appreciate your support.